So they wrote in the last paragraph, late last night, which was what I said, I tweeted this, late last night while we all slept, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds filed a protective order. The guilty as sin couple is asking a judge to protect from the public some confidential documents and names that will be gathered in the discovery process. And then after they put my tweet, they write, predictably, the media outlets picked up the same narrative. Okay, yeah, but that's what you did. Like, what am I guilty of here? Leading the pack of people? Like, because, like, what? We're psychotic and we're checking your filings every day?
This text from Blake Lively is insane. Mm-hmm. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully.
This my favorite story, I think, in showbiz this year. The Justinbaldoni war with Blake Lively, which seems to me, initially I felt quite sorry for Blake Lively. Then I've been reading all the messages between them all, and which he's been putting out, obviously. And it just seems like a pair of absolute weapons-grade narcissists.
Narrator. She did not listen. She did not take my advice at all. I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaints, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint. Not under the influence of drugs, not under the influence of alcohol.
Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
I defend Justinbaldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man.
Whose side are you on?
Well, Baldoni looks like, what's the word? He's got like a, you remember going to school with that kid that always raised his hand real quick in school for extra credit?
Yeah.
But then he also hit on the recess teacher, remember? And she was 35 and he was 12.
Right.
But she still was like, well, my husband's.
With this one here, to me, when I think about what happened with Amber Heard and what was the other guy?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. This is such an important story. I know you don't give a shit about it, but this is such an important story. Because if they would have won against him, a guy whose dream was to be a Hollywood actor, producer, director, they could have crushed his career if they would have.
Speculation is mounting in Hollywood as questions swirl around what could have driven Blake Lively, one of the industry's most poised and glamorous figures, to reportedly break down in court in front of a judge, attorneys, and a gallery packed with onlookers. According to whispers circulating from inside the courtroom, Lively allegedly collapsed in tears during a pivotal hearing in her legal dispute with co-star and producer Justinbaldoni. Known for her composure and unwavering public image, Lively entered the case exuding confidence, with some observers claiming she appeared firmly in control. But that narrative shifted abruptly as rumors emerged portraying her visibly shaken, trembling, and ultimately rushing out of the courtroom. Whether this was a genuine moment of emotional overwhelm or a strategically timed reaction aimed at swaying perception remains unclear. Both camps have remained noticeably silent, adding to the intrigue and leaving the public to decipher the truth. What makes the situation even more compelling is that the roots of this alleged courtroom breakdown trace back long before any legal filings, beginning on the set of the much-anticipated film adaptation of It Ends With Us. When the project was first announced, excitement reached a fever pitch. The best-selling Colleen Hoover novel already boasted a fiercely loyal fanbase and the pairing of Baldoni, known for his emotionally charged productions, with Blake Lively, celebrated for her charisma and star power, was hailed as a cinematic dream team. Social media lit up with praise and anticipation, with many predicting instant success. However, it wasn't long before behind-the-scenes tensions began to leak. Reports of creative disagreements suggested that the set was far less harmonious than it appeared. Some insiders claimed Lively pushed aggressively for script revisions, while Baldoni, juggling the roles of actor, director, and producer, reportedly resisted, viewing the interference as overstepping. Others hinted at disputes involving scheduling and creative authority. At first, fans dismissed the chatter as typical Hollywood friction, but the rumors persisted and intensified. Online commentary evolved into claims of escalating frustration from Lively over the film's direction, countered by accusations that Baldoni had forcefully pushed back. None of these accounts were ever officially confirmed, leaving much of the story steeped in ambiguity. What is clear, however, is that the tension had been simmering long before legal documents were drawn. Whether rooted in creative passion or clashing egos, that strain eventually spilled beyond the set and into the courtroom. And now, as fans await updates on what was once expected to be a straightforward production announcement, perhaps a trailer release, premiere date, or behind-the-scenes featurette, the focus has instead turned to a far more dramatic and unexpected storyline. But instead of promotional buzz, Hollywood was jolted awake by a bombshell. Headlines exploded across major outlets announcing that Blake Lively had officially filed a lawsuit against her co-star and producer Justinbaldoni, accusing him of creating a toxic work environment and subjecting her to harassment. The revelation sent shockwaves through the industry, not only because of the high-profile names involved, but because the allegations were vague enough to ignite a firestorm of speculation. Early reports suggested intimidation tactics had allegedly been used to pressure Lively into accepting creative decisions she opposed, while others hinted at more personal conflicts spiraling beyond control. What remained consistent in every version was that Lively claimed conditions on set had become intolerable. Baldoni's team responded swiftly and aggressively, not only denying the accusations, but firing back with a countersuit that transformed the dispute into an all-out legal war. His attorneys framed Lively's lawsuit as a calculated smear campaign, possibly born from power struggles over creative control or financial entitlement, and escalated the matter by demanding damages reportedly reaching into the hundreds of millions. Their portrayal of Lively was strikingly different. Not a victim, but a powerful actress unwilling to accept boundaries and resorting to litigation when challenged. Within days, the legal drama had eclipsed all excitement surrounding the film itself. The real story was no longer unfolding on set. It was playing out in court filings and law offices, with reputations, careers, and potentially vast fortunes hanging in the balance. Fans who had once been united in anticipation now split into factions, rallying under hashtag Team Blake or hashtag Team Justin. Both camps teased what they described as definitive proof. Lively's legal representatives hinted at emails and text exchanges allegedly showing Baldoni dismissing her concerns, along with testimony from stylists, makeup artists, and crew members prepared to describe a hostile atmosphere. Baldoni's side countered by suggesting that multiple witnesses would contradict Lively's narrative, arguing that she had in fact disrupted production with last-minute rewrite demands, budget disputes, and clashes with colleagues. They painted her not as a target, but as a diva derailing progress for personal leverage. To outsiders, the truth remained buried beneath conflicting leaks and carefully curated statements. Conspiracy theories filled the void. Was Lively attempting to sabotage the film from within? Was Baldoni exploiting his dual authority as star and producer? Or was this merely the public-facing surface of a deeper feud involving financial stakes, bruised egos, or long-standing grudges? Neither party granted interviews, both opting for strict silence as their legal teams tightened the lid on discovery. Still, every supposed leak, every anonymous tip, every screenshot or whispered update only fueled the frenzy. Social media evolved into a digital battleground, with users dissecting courtroom photos, analyzing body language, crafting legal predictions, and circulating memes faster than any official statement could contain. After months of depositions, filings, and strategic maneuvering, the moment the public had been both anticipating and dreading finally arrived: the first major court hearing. It wasn't a full trial, but it was a crucial turning point. Analysts predicted the judge could either greenlight Lively's harassment claims or dismiss Baldoni's countersuit entirely, setting the trajectory for both cases. With potentially hundreds of millions at stake, the decision promised not only to influence public opinion, but to redefine careers. That morning, The atmosphere inside the courthouse felt less like a legal venue and more like the premiere of a blockbuster scandal. Reporters and photographers lined the hallway shoulder to shoulder, their cameras poised for even the smallest glimpse of the two stars whose off-screen feud had eclipsed their on-screen work. Blake Lively arrived first, escorted by her legal team. One journalist described her as pale but determined, her stride quick yet visibly tense. Minutes later, Justinbaldoni entered with his attorneys in tow, his expression unreadable, calm to some, cold to others. Inside the courtroom, an uneasy hush settled as everyone took their seats. Even the faint clicking of phones and rustling of paper seemed intrusive. When the judge finally began reading the ruling, the mood shifted in an instant. According to those in attendance, the decision came like a thunderclap. The judge declared that the central pillar of Lively's harassment claim lacked sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. The foundation of her legal case had just been stripped away, on record, in front of the world. Gasps swept through the gallery, but all eyes locked on Lively. Witnesses described her face draining of color, her grip tightening around the edge of the table until her knuckles whitened. Some swore they saw her tremble. Others claimed she whispered something, either to her lawyer or to herself, before collapsing into her seat, as though the weight of the ruling had physically crushed her. A few reported seeing tears stream down her cheeks. At one point, she bent forward, burying her face in her hands as if struggling to catch her breath. For a moment, even the judge paused, unsure whether to continue. Security personnel and members of Lively's team rushed to her side. Across the aisle, Baldoni remained completely still. His composure sparked immediate debate. Was he silently concerned, or simply prepared for this outcome? The quiet disintegration of courtroom decorum quickly spiraled into chaos. Lively suddenly stood, eyes glazed, and bolted toward the exit despite attempts to stop her. As she fled the courtroom, stunned spectators watched in disbelief. Seconds later, she burst into the hallway, where cameras exploded in rapid-fire flashes. Within minutes, images of her tear-streaked face flooded social media feeds worldwide. By afternoon, the internet was ablaze. Twitter threads dissected every angle of her expression. TikTok users slowed down footage like sports analysts reviewing game highlights. Instagram Reels labeled the moment everything changed. To some, this was the heartbreaking collapse of a woman betrayed by the system. To others, it was strategic theater, precisely timed to sway public sympathy after a damaging legal blow. Overnight, the narrative shifted. The headlines no longer asked who was right. They asked whether Blake Lively had broken or orchestrated her downfall. Supporters insisted her emotional collapse was proof of authenticity. Critics argued the judge's ruling spoke louder than any tears. Body language experts were invited onto talk shows. Mental health advocates defended her vulnerability. Industry insiders whispered about power plays behind closed doors. And then, silence. Neither Lively nor Baldoni issued a statement. Their publicists stuck to identical no-comment responses, while their social media posts appeared strangely detached from the chaos. Lively uploaded a picture of a homemade dessert. Baldoni posted a vague inspirational quote about forgiveness. Rather than calming speculation, the silence made things worse. Why wasn't Lively addressing her supporters? Why wasn't Baldoni acknowledging the collapse? Had an off-the-record deal been struck? Were both sides suddenly bound by confidentiality? Hollywood insiders suggested that major studios, desperate to salvage It Ends With Us, might be pressuring both parties into silence. Some believed Lively's breakdown was not just about losing a ruling, but about realizing she had been outmaneuvered politically. Others argued Baldoni had secured powerful allies backstage, leaving her cornered. And just like that, the legal case ceased to be the focus. The collapse became the story. The silence became the clue. Everyone agreed on one thing. This saga had stopped being about a lawsuit. It had morphed into something much bigger, a public reckoning over influence, image, and the hidden machinery of Hollywood power. An alleged recording ever surfaced, but another rumor quickly filled its place. suggesting that Lively, at the very moment the judge ruled against her, had learned of a personal betrayal from someone she trusted. Whether it came from a co-star, an investor, or someone within her own circle, no one could say for certain. But for many, it offered a convenient explanation for her sudden collapse. Amid the noise, some fans longed for peace, pleading for the drama to end and for It Ends With Us to be judged solely on its artistic merit. Yet, ironically, Lively's alleged meltdown only amplified interest. Controversy sells, and in Hollywood, scandal has filled more theater seats than marketing campaigns ever could. Still, one unsettling question lingered. Could the film even survive the weight of its own off-screen chaos? As speculation grew, so did cynicism. Was the breakdown itself a calculated move? In an industry where perception often matters more than truth, orchestrated emotion is not unheard of. Some argued that if Lively anticipated a legal defeat, a public display of grief could shift the narrative, transforming her from plaintiff to martyr. Headlines would no longer read "case dismissed," but "star crushed by unjust ruling." But others offered a simpler, more human interpretation. Maybe she just broke. No matter how glamorous or composed a celebrity may appear, rejection and humiliation can be devastating, especially when endured under the glare of cameras. Perhaps this wasn't strategy. Perhaps it was heartbreak. And that is precisely why the moment refuses to fade. Blake Lively's reported courtroom collapse has become one of the most discussed incidents in recent Hollywood history, yet its meaning remains elusive. Was it authentic pain or dramatic presentation? A spontaneous crack in the armor of a polished star, or a masterstroke of emotional positioning? With no statement from Lively and no acknowledgement from Baldoni, speculation thrives in silence. Now that the frenzy has calmed slightly, new questions have emerged. Will Lively regroup and appeal? Will Baldoni press forward with his countersuit, demanding the staggering damages he once sought? And most crucially, what becomes of It Ends With Us? Does it press on toward release, fueled by infamy, or does it stall indefinitely under the weight of controversy? Hollywood history is littered with feuds that ended quietly in private settlements, and others that roared back with shocking twists when the world least expected it. No one can yet predict which path this saga will take. What is certain is that Blake Lively's courtroom moment, whether genuine collapse or calculated spectacle, has already entered Hollywood lore. To some, it stands as a tragic symbol of a woman crushed by an unforgiving system. To others, it reads as theatrics designed to win in the public arena what was lost in legal chambers. So, where does that leave the rest of us? With a question that may never be definitively answered: was Blake Lively a wronged actress brought to her breaking point, or a strategist who understood that in Hollywood, emotion is currency? In a world where reality and performance are often indistinguishable, perhaps the real twist is this: nothing in Hollywood is ever entirely authentic. Or maybe it's more authentic than anyone dares to believe.